Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Bound by Grace podcast, a space where faith meets real life and healing begins with honest conversations. In today's episode, we're tracking a subject that every heart can relate to. Those moments when emotions rise, tensions flare, and you find yourself at a boiling point. We're joined by the compassionate and deeply insightful Casandra Morgan, a certified Christian counselor who's passionate about helping people process emotions in ways that lead to growth, not rupture. Cassandra brings biblical wisdom, clinical understanding, and a grace filled approach to unpacking why processing our feelings, especially the hard ones, isn't just healthy, it's holy. Together, we'll explore what boiling points reveal about our inner landscape, how unprocessed emotions impact relationships and spiritual health, practical ways to de escalate, regulate, and reflect without shutting down or blowing up. Whether you've been stuffing your feelings or spilling them everywhere, this episode will meet you right in the tension and guide you toward clarity, compassion, and Christ centered healing. Grab your journal, breathe deep, and settle in. This conversation could be the start of emotional freedom. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for checking in, and I'm so excited for this episode. I have a feeling that people are going to get a lot of good stuff from this.
Absolutely. So I know we discussed beforehand that we're speaking on pretty much navigating boiling points. So since you're the Christian counselor and you have more of an idea of this, I'm going to kind of let you take it away.
Sure. So, navigating boiling points is not something that's uninclusive. Anybody can say, I've been in a conversation or a situation where emotions just got too much, or maybe got the best of you and brought out your ugly side. You got irritable, yelled, pushed, shoved, anything like that. So, this navigating a boiling point subject for our audience is not something that anyone, unless you're an absolute saint and have never been in an argument before, can say, oh, I've never been there. I don't need this. This isn't for me. This is an episode that can be power packed for anybody because as a Christian counselor, we have mental health services in place like this where people end up getting to a point where they either get too frustrated or too many boiling point type of situations where they feel they need to reach out and have a little bit of help processing emotions, getting guidance on how to deal with it the next time, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm bringing up a situation that doesn't have to do with a marital boiling point, but I actually had an incident with someone in our neighborhood the other day where I was going to be the mediator of a friend of mine and her neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they already were high on emotions. I came over, I thought it was going to be this very easy conversation because my kids were just involved a little bit. They didn't know the ins and outs, but they were involved enough where I could step in and say, hey, let's talk about this. And the neighbors were so high on emotions that instantly they got aggressive. And I mean, very aggressive toward me. And that brought out my ugly side. I am not proud of how I reacted. Let me tell you, audience,
Amen,
I
sister.
cussed.
Amen.
I cussed. I called her names. I was so shamed about how I reacted because I felt in a spot where I was like in a corner
Mm-hmm.
and she was so aggressive that I wasn't scared, but my body was shaking.
Yeah.
Like my legs were shaking. And I really was like, I pointed it out. I was like, I'm so mad right now. I'm shaking.
Yeah.
And it got over the top. Thankfully, we were able to bring it back down and
Right.
have the conversation where I originally wanted it to go. And at the end, I had to apologize to her profusely. I was like, I am so sorry. I should not have called you that. I feel horrible. This is exactly how I wanted this to go. And I understand that you guys were just high on emotions and very angry about the situation. but this is originally how I wanted it to go. So I appreciate you guys having the conversation with us.
Listen, we mentioned already, this is a safe space where probably no one is subjected to being excluded from this group. I've had a recent situation too where it's a family member, two family members, and things just got boiling and it wasn't anything that I was a part of. Sometimes it has a lot to do with people kind of inserting you into a situation as well. It sounds from your situation like it was something that was unintentionally happening, but something happened and it needed to be addressed. I have
Hmm.
a long email waiting for me to send out to this person where I'm trying to make heads or tails of the situation I went through too. There are situations where you'll walk away and there will be no closure, no apology, no way to fix it, no way to get around it. And you'll just have to process that on your own. And then there's situations like yours, which are golden situations, where you have the people that you might be navigating this boiling point with right in front of you and in the moment. And there are ways to de escalate. There's ways to get those physical things that start appearing, like your breath running faster, your heart beating faster, your legs shaking, your hands shaking, your voice even shaking. And sometimes we may get in our heads that that takes away from the emotions that we're trying to convey. Oh man, I cried, or oh man, I cussed and I yelled. That totally isn't me. That's not the point I wanted to get across. This is just derailing. Like this situation is spiraling and I don't know what to do. There's so much power in having the self-awareness to be able to
Hmm.
say, "I'm shaking, I'm cursing, I'm yelling, this is not going right," and still be able to de-escalate the situation. That is such a powerful point that so many people would like to work themselves to, they just don't know how.
Yeah, I took deep breaths and then realized that I could argue with them all day long. I mean,
Mhm.
she got in my face, like she
Yeah,
wanted to hit me.
that's beautiful.
She actually clapped her hands in front of my nose, centimeters from my nose.
Yeah,
Um, and I noticed that, wait a minute, I'm a parent, they're a parent, there's commonality there. They're upset about their situation with their children. Wouldn't I be upset as well? Now, would I handle it the same? No, but they're
where
upset and I can at least relate to that. So as they started speaking, I stopped completely, listened, even though they were still yelling. And I looked at them and I said, you know what? I completely understand.
yeah.
And then
We're gonna
like,
touch on that in this episode, that there are phrases, there are tools, there is both in psychology and in the Bible. So, the one thing that I'd like to explain since we're introing to this episode is that I am a Christian counselor, but that does not make me on a soapbox. That does not put me anywhere above anybody else. It just means that I have taken the time to train myself to understand what the Bible says and what psychology says and kind of intertwine the two because we are humans. We have a brain. We all have emotions. We were all created from something, no matter what you believe in. And I like to meet people exactly where they are. I like to let them know I'm a recovered addict. I had a life before I found Jesus, and that life still surfaces every now and again. And it
yeah,
comes in the form for me in my emotions. I processing my emotions, making sure I don't get to a boiling point. I have too many just mental illnesses that I deal with my own self that I also help people with as a Christian counselor. And so I already know how hard it is to get through some of these emotions with even just a normal balanced self. Now you add in addiction recovery, or you add in dysfunctional family stuff, or you add
mhm,
in any substances you may still be using. You add in all of the heavy, like all of the heavy that everyone carries around every day. And then you have to start processing emotions from that place. And it's difficult.
yeah. Any additive on top of your emotions is going to make it just 10 times more difficult to navigate.
So
So
I'd like
take
to
us
segue
through,
into,
yeah,
oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
go ahead. I was going to say let's start with why processing emotions matters.
Yeah, same place I was going to start. So basically, when you're processing your emotions in any normal sense, so I want audiences to hear this message and just kind of check in with yourself and see where you're at. I deal with anxiety, depression, PTSD, and just that's just my rolling ADHD. Sorry, that was one I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
And so that's my rolling list of things I already deal with in my emotions on top of my everyday today scenarios that I'm going through and emotions I'm processing. So I know on the layer of how do I get through something that's really frustrating? Well, I have to not forget that I have ADHD. I have to not forget that my brain goes in a million different directions. So I know I have to focus. I know that the self awareness that I have has to be focused on not getting too anxious and getting past that point of no return. I have to know that navigating a scenario does not spiral me into a depression episode. And then on top of that, any type of trauma triggers that have to do with the scenario, whether someone knows about it or not, I know about it. So
Hmm.
someone can trauma trigger me. It's not going to depend on them. It's going to depend entirely on how I deal with it. And that will lead us into the next part of processing that emotion. So, on top of already going, I'm frustrated, I need to figure out a way to calm down, I have to add in all of my layers. So, that self awareness, it just doesn't leave you in the dark. Becoming self aware about what you're dealing with in your emotions, how to apply it to the scenario you're dealing with in front of you, and then how to process through it in a healthy way. It's not always going to be A plus B equals C. There's going to be things that come in and happen, and you have to go, okay, now A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and now A squared plus B minus C and XY, like all the equations before you can get to that equals this, right? And so the self awareness, it doesn't leave you in the dark. You're totally aware and you have a full picture in front of you. And then it doesn't bleed out into other areas. So things left unresolved, unprocessed in your emotions, they'll stay with you until you work on them. They're not going to go anywhere. The way you feel when you leave that emotion behind is exactly how it's going to stay until you come back to it.
Hmm.
Outside of that, promoting this healthy balance of like, okay, this is how a normal person would react. I'm self aware, so I know this is how I have to react. And I don't want it to bleed out into the areas that I know, like, I love people. I don't want to be mean or irritable with my friends or my family or my coworkers. All of that is why processing these emotions in the proper, healthy way really, truly matters. It's going to make a world of difference in your outcome, in your, okay, A plus B equals C, finally.
Hmm.
It'll really hone in on making that long, lengthy, complicated equation super duper simple. You have to be self-aware. You have to know what's going on in your own emotions, and you have to make a solid game plan for how to process through that, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, so there was a study done where 95% of the group thought they were emotionally intelligent. After the psychiatrists went through each one, they found that 33% of the group was actually self-aware and emotionally intelligent. So that's something that is not natural. It doesn't come naturally. It's something you have to practice. And if your emotional intelligence is very limited, and what I mean by that is if I ask you how you're feeling, and the only thing you can come up with is angry, sad, um, upset, and those are pretty much it, or happy, and that's the limited vocabulary you have. I think a really good thing, the first step that you can take is to look up all the different emotions. So you
Yeah.
can start to pinpoint, okay, you know what? I'm actually not angry. I feel angry. I'm actually afraid.
Yeah.
So start to really like dial into what that emotion is. And it's going to take a little bit of a learning curve to do.
In this day and age, I would say that I'm going to equate, at least in my book, I equate human common decency and emotional intelligence on the same playing field, because you can be emotionally intelligent and know how to process emotions perfectly and how to do everything to a T. But the human common decency part that comes in is you can't stop there. You have to be able to give that same grace you gave yourself, or that same space you gave yourself, safe place for yourself to process all that and get there.
Mhm.
Emotional intelligence for me is when someone can do it for themselves and do it for others as well. Not make them
Yes.
emotionally intelligent, but just give them that same space to be either become that or say like, hey, I had a hard time with this and I want to be a really good friend or coworker or romantic partner or whoever you are to this person, and say, I think a lot of good can come from you becoming emotionally intelligent, self-aware, be able to process this. I, as a counselor, even as a person before this, was shocked at how much lack in conversation there is around your emotions. We all have them, we all experience them, and they are regulated in a certain way with everybody to a certain level. And I'm just shocked that people don't talk about it more because
Yeah, I
psychologically and
agree.
physically, like you can get sick from the emotions you don't process.
Hmm. Yeah, there's physical issues that can happen. Um, when I was in massage therapy, there was this, and some people may believe this, some people may not, but there was this teacher that pointed out if you're holding or harboring ill feelings, that your body will actually show it. And she showed us someone's hands that was harboring ill feelings, and their hands looked like they had like sores on them. Um,
Hmm.
just didn't look very healthy. And then she said, this emotion kind of shows this. Like she was showing us different body parts and what that emotion is that they're harboring. So I do believe that your body starts to exude what your emotions are that you're harboring.
It's
And that could
truly
just
not
be from
even,
unprocessed.
yeah, it's truly not even from trying to believe it or not believe it. It's in a thing that exists. People probably not need to get their heads wrapped around it being an actual thing, it being a factual thing that's backed by science. And then if you stop and realize and stop and not realize, but stop and think about the person in your life that you are, no, they're always stressed, they're always angry, they're always in their emotions, they're always like not working on anything with themselves, right? They're just that person, and you know who that person is in your life. How often do you see them well, healthy, eating right, sleeping right, not, completely engulfed in their emotions, you
Hmm.
know? So those are the type of people that you can look at and say like, man, that guy's worrying himself to death, that guy is
Yeah.
making himself stressed until he's so sick. Like, you can pick it out, you know it. Everybody in their hearts really truly knows that when that stuff builds up to an over boiling point, like we're talking about, it could take a tiny little conversation. It could take someone coming to you saying like, hey, we need this, there's a deadline due.
Hmm.
And a simple deadline due could send you totally over the edge just with everything else you might be carrying on like a backpack. I always tell people, imagine your stress and your worries, fears, everything we need to process through, like bricks in a backpack. How heavy is your backpack? Like, how many breaks do you need to stop and take before you can keep walking steps forward? Lighten up your backpack. Get some of that stuff out of there so that when a brick of worry or fear or deadlines or something drops in, you can carry that pretty easy. You can keep walking with one or two bricks in your backpack, but like 70 bricks in your backpack, you're not going to be able to move like you need to move.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Um, so how do we promote a healthy balance?
The balance takes a lot of work. It's a lot of individual emotional work. I always recommend getting with a counselor or a therapist, not to not to self promote, but get with
No,
somebody
yeah, absolutely.
get with somebody who's trained and who knows exactly how to help guide you on these ins and outs, because you cannot do it alone. It's individual emotional work, but it's individual emotional work like you're going to college, okay? You have a teacher, you're taking notes, you go home and you do homework, and then you come back and you say, okay, I learned this and I can pass the test.
Yeah, I like that.
I would
Um,
say outside of that emotional awareness, different tools, journaling, mindfulness. I always promote prayer. There is so much power in prayer. Getting with God. Like, I'm about to release an episode on my podcast. It's called Living Loved. And
mhm,
the episode is called Getting Good with God. And sometimes people overcomplicate that relationship, but that is the ultimate counselor. That is the ultimate counselor. He is the ultimate guide. He is the one with the lamp at your feet, and he will let you know that it's called conviction. When you yell and if you get to a boiling point, he's the one that says, hey, maybe you need to go back and say sorry to that person, and then we can work on this together. So praying, if you don't have to be a psychologist, you don't have to go get a degree in it, but look up little terms. There's two I want to leave the audience with. Window of tolerance, and that's basically your window of saying, hey, me as Cassandra, I can deal with this much. When it starts to get to this much and this much and this much, I cannot deal anymore. I will need help. There will need to be some type of intervention because this is my window of tolerance. It's a
Mm-hmm.
good starting point for boundary setting too, because you can say, sorry, I am so sorry. I'm not available for any more anything. This comes into play too when we're navigating these boiling points. You can say, my window of tolerance is this. If it's going to exceed my window of tolerance, we need to probably schedule another time to talk about this where we can come in cool headed with some stuff written down. Navigating those boiling points is being totally aware of these type of things. So don't go to psychology school like I'm doing. But Google these terms, window of tolerance, and then the attachment theory. If anybody can go through a scenario knowing their own attachment theory as a self-awareness tool, it's going to be a game changer for how the outcome of that scenario plays out. Knowing if you're an avoidant attachment person, that means somebody will not come to conflict with ease. They will have to really, really work to getting to a point of conflict because they like to avoid things. My
Mm-hmm.
personal is anxious attachment. And so if I have a friend or a coworker or a partner that's an avoidant attachment, so for an anxious attachment, they're going to walk away because they can feel things getting heated and they're just like, no, this is not for me. I need to avoid this. An anxious attachment theory is someone who goes, no, I need to talk about this right now, or I'm going to think about it all day. It's going to really like spiral my day out. I will get so anxious. I won't be able to eat. I won't be able to sleep. So if you've got an avoidant and an anxious attachment theory existing in any relationship of yours, figure out your attachment theory and how it plays into how you present yourself in situations.
Do you happen to know where our listeners can find a good test for the attachment theory that's free?
Oh, sure. The same. So I would do two different tests to start out. Find out what your window of tolerance is. There's no test for that. You just sit with yourself and meditate and say, I can only take this much. When you
Okay.
go to your attachment theory, you can just Google attachment theory test and find a good one. That I would say a credible source would probably be Gottman Institute because they put out a lot of really great psychology stuff. So, attachment theory, find out your window of tolerance, and then get a test on your love language.
Oh,
Attachment
absolutely.
theories are how you present yourself, but love languages shows you your two-way road, how you give and how you receive things. And these are practical tools that theology and that psychology help us with. I know people grapple with the two being two separate things, but my ministry, God called me to bridge the gap, man. He called me to have psychologists be in their Bible too, as well as theology people open up their hearts to things like attachment theory because that's how we're created. It's what lives inside of us. It's what makes up our soul, you know? Like I live with anxiety. I manage with anxiety, but it's here. And so I have to be able to say, hey, you're not a friend I want around long, but I know that when you're here, you're around and you're an emotion that I need to pay attention
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure which attachment I am, but
to.
it's not avoidant and uh it's not anxious. Even though I have anxiety, it's not anxious because I can take the time. I like to take the
Sure,
time to
sure.
cool down.
Let me list out real quick while we're here on this topic all of the attachment types. And this is something that people will have to figure out what they are and then just dive deep into it in a credibly sourced area on the internet and just see because there's outside of the attachment theory, it's with us from the start in our persona. Okay. So it'll come up in dating, it'll come up in adults, it'll come up in children, it'll come up in relationships. It'll come up because it's just a part of you, your attachment style is. So we have secure attachment, which means the people who are bringing themselves to maybe a boiling point, their secure attachment is, I know I'm navigating myself through a boiling point right now with somebody, and my attachment style is to stay here, stay safe, provide the safe space, and then we work through it. Anxious, like I said, is me saying, no, we got to deal with this right now. If not, it's going to send me. I can't do this. It's very like manic almost. Avoidant attachment is the one that I said where someone comes to a navigating point and they go, whoa, I'm out of here. This is not for me. And then a disorganized attachment style is meaning that you can start your navigating your boiling point talking about one thing. And then by the end, you've talked about 7 or 12, 11 different things, and you haven't really focused on the one thing. So being
Mm.
disorganized in your attachment style, avoidant in your attachment style, anxious in your attachment style, or secure in your attachment style, that's all stuff that you is a part of you already. You can work your way. You can do a lot of emotional work yourself to work your way to a different attachment style if you really want to unlearn something unhealthy and relearn something healthy. I would love to go from an anxious attachment style to a secure one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think out of those, secure sounds like the one that is the goal.
That would be the goal because no one wants to go, hey, I want to be a disorganized attachment or I want to be an anxious person. Like secure attachment would be the ultimate life goal because those are the people that you feel comfortable around that can talk about intimacy, that can talk about independence, that can talk about how to express their needs and feel openly. They tend to have the
Mhm.
most healthy and balanced relationships, secure attachment styles do.
Yeah, I can see myself being an avoidant if things get too heated and I feel myself getting too angry, but I would say in most situations, I'm probably the secure attachment style.
And not all of it is bad. Don't take any one of these one attachment style titles or names as, oh God, that means I'm anxious or that means I'm avoidant and I don't want to deal with things. In the anxious attachment style, it just means that you have a strong desire. I have a strong desire for closeness and intimacy. And I want to accompany that with good feelings like love and everything. So anxious attachment style means you want all of that, but instead of accompanying it with love and closeness, it's accompanied with fear and abandonment. And so an anxious avoidant attachment, it's kind of within themselves. They have to go within
Mhm.
themselves. And I have to say, this person loves me. Like they don't not love me. And I'm really scared of abandonment sometimes because that's just stuff from my childhood that comes through. But I have to reason with myself and go, no, they might just be avoiding this conversation because they're an avoidant attachment style. And it's not up to us to pick off what everybody's is. You just really have to be self aware and know yourself and know how it works.
Yeah, my husband is definitely an avoidant. He has
Yeah, mine is too.
trouble.
So I have,
Yeah,
yeah, bad.
yeah. So very cool. What else do you think we should know about the boiling points and navigating those?
I'm going to leave you guys with one more really great book to read. And outside of that, I'm sure I'll have some other suggestions. But outside of getting your attachment theory down, your love language down, and seeing your window of tolerance, there is a book called Lord, Change My Attitude. I did it on my ministry page within a private group that I have. And I'm talking, this gets real biblical. There's scripture, there's stuff on it. I forget the author's name, Sean something. And I should know it because I did it for a 9-week study. I said his name probably about a million times. But Lord, Change My Attitude. And it's a great book. And it takes you through very awesome biblically referenced parables where it'll show you, hey, don't be a complainer because these people complained and they ended up, the Israelites complained about wandering in the desert and they ended up not making it to the promised land.
Hmm.
And the fact that we could look at stories like that and say, man, they dealt with complaining in 2,000 years ago. What does God say about that? What is his heart position on complaining? What is his heart position on greed and stuff like that? And so when you start diving deep into those type of topics and processing your emotions and saying, Lord, change my attitude, a lot of fruitful things, a lot of breakthrough starts to happen because you're starting to say out loud the areas where you do need help and where you say, like, I need a change here.
Yeah, that's I think that's a good one for people to get. So what was the name of the book again? Lord, Change My Attitude. Is that what it is?
What's that?
Was it Lord, Change My Attitude?
Lord, change
What
my
was the name?
attitude. I think it's James McBride.
Okay. So for our listeners, you can look that up. I'm sure it'll come up on Amazon or something.
Yeah,
Um,
the book on Amazon, I think it's like $10. Let me see. James McDonald. Sorry, James McDonald, and it's $6 on Amazon. So invest
okay,
$6 into seeing what God has to say about some of our attitude positions. It's a game changer. This book is.
very cool. Is there anything else you want to leave us with that you feel is important that we didn't touch on?
I would say get really, really familiar with the spiritual and the psychological overlapping within yourself, because
Okay.
we all have a soul, but we all also have a brain and a heart, and they all function like a well oiled machine. But sometimes, places need maintenance, certain areas need upkeep. This isn't going to be a road where you just do some work overnight and your soul and your brain and your heart are all in line and you're going to move forward and everything's going to be fine. There's no black and white here. This is such a gray area where soul care and self care and confessing your feelings and being vulnerable, knowing that that intimate, emotional, and individual work needs to happen, all of that's going to get you to a point where navigating these boiling points, like, they'll still come up, but you'll totally see a night and day difference on how you can handle that. In your situation, these are neighbors you're still going to have to see. Y'all live around each other. There's no avoiding it. In my situation, it's with family members. So unless I want to go no contact, I have to deal with it. This is where the theology, I would say, listening to God's voice, having that empathy versus codependence on whatever you want to do to let the situation play out. The theology around bearing one another's burdens and loving your neighbor and your enemies as well. Those are huge. Those are two passages in the Bible that probably no one ever really gets truly right unless they are 100% right. You know what I mean? Bearing each
Hmm.
other's burdens is hard because a lot of people go, I have my own stuff going on. If someone's reaching out for help, like, how much space do I really have for them? Or loving your neighbor and your enemies. This person did me so wrong, and I have no time for them in my mind, in my heart, in my spirit. But God will stop you there. He will convict you a little bit and go, no, I created you to be kind and loving and empathetic. So maybe pray for your enemy, or maybe even wish them well. Ask God to bless them. And then you can keep moving on. It doesn't take a lot. It's not a whole afternoon special show. It's just quieting your mind and your spirit and turning it towards the person that can tell you exactly what the right answer is.
Yeah. I like to say you don't have to like everyone or get along with everyone, but you still need to respect them and love them as Christ loves us.
Yeah.
And I also like to think about it, and some people may call me out and be like, that's wrong, but I like to think about it as in God says we were made in his image. If
Hmm.
you don't love every single person that you come across or show them that type of love, are you really in a good relationship with Christ? Like you should be mirroring his grace and his love toward everyone you come across. Now, are we going to be perfect in this? No. The other day, I was definitely not perfect. But afterwards, when things calmed
Right.
down, I realized that, and I will be reaching out to her and him and just, putting out that hand of grace and seeing if maybe they want to speak a little further. Um, on things that didn't have to relate to what we were speaking
It's
on
your olive
prior.
branch. Yeah, it's an olive branch. Everybody needs their own little olive branch, and you've got to keep it the greatest olive branch you have on your side in your corner, because you'll have to extend it so many times. And so practical tools for this are, if you're navigating a boiling point like you were with your neighbors or I am with my family, you have to understand first and foremost, God's timing is God's timing. So he's going to work that situation out on his time through his will as he sees it fit for the two people involved to understand any type of oh, okay, this happened so that this could happen. Maybe you guys yelled and cursed at each other so that you could get past that and get to smiling with each other and hugging each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so mirroring, validating, setting safe container spaces, offering understanding. I'm so sorry. I'm a mom. I have
It's
kids.
okay. Yeah.
She's good. She's with her dad. So mirroring, validating each other's feelings, setting a safe space container for the situation or for the people involved, offering that understanding that you offered that immediately de-escalated the situation. I mean, when you're navigating a boiling point, no one expects the opposite side to go, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Everything is rooted in that understanding and offering it. If you can be big enough to offer any type of understanding in a boiling point type of situation, all the other tools will be so easy to use. If you can tell someone, I understand how that hurts, I understand how my actions got you to that point, then you can set that safe space. You can say, I promise I am going to really work on this and think about it. And this is just something that can never happen again between us because I don't like this feeling. When you mirror something, I can tell you're very, very angry, and that makes me angry too. I would never, you're someone I love, you're a neighbor, you're a friend, you're a coworker, whatever relationship it is. It's funny you mentioned that too, because my ministry is called Love Me to Life Ministries, specifically because I was so sick of my last unhealthy relationship. I'm sorry. The person repeated time after time, I love you to death, I love you to death, I love you to death. And their actions were matching, literally loving me to death. Like I was dying in that relationship. Not to be too dramatic, but physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I was dying. And so I said, I don't want people to love me to death anymore. I need to be loved to life from now on. And so that's the beginning of this ministry. And the ministry is totally centered around having this type of tools in your bag, knowing that boiling points, needing to navigate them in a healthy manner, in a healthy, responsive way, is that point, that starting point of offering any type of understanding to any other human being. And then
Hmm.
within yourself, turning within and going, I need that self awareness. I need to change. Lord, please change my attitude. Getting through these type of growth points where the breakthrough comes on the other side. Imagine the beautiful relationship you and your neighbors will have once you guys are able to get past this point with empathy and understanding and knowing, hey, I'm going to validate you. That was totally unnecessary for me. In the future, I'm setting a safe boundary around us never getting to that point again.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Do you have anything else you want to share before we close out?
No, I think we shared a lot of really great hypotheticals. If any of them resonated with any of our audience, I would definitely say outside of getting connected with a counselor, doing the self individual work, just set aside some time each day for you to get with God. Like getting good with God is a part of it too. Getting in your spirit, making sure your cup is filled, making sure that you really truly know that you're seeking out the heart of God in every situation.
Hmm.
And walking, like you mentioned, he's made us in his image. So just start walking with that spiritual authority that I'm made in the image of Christ. And so if Jesus was sitting here next to me in this situation, what would he be doing? WWJD is always a good default.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. All right, guys, I really appreciate Cassandra being on with us today. I'll have her links of the ways that you can get in contact with her and her podcast link in the description
Thank
in case
you.
you go out and support her. And if anyone struggles with this or wants to learn more, please reach out at boundbygracepodcast@gmail.com. And also join our group on Facebook. It's simply in the groups, and you just search out Bound by Grace Podcast. I really
Casandra,
look forward to, huh?
I'm so sorry. Just one to just it just like God tapped me on my shoulder basically. My first 30-minute sessions as a Christian counselor are free for anybody. So
Oh,
if
beautiful.
you need 30 minutes to talk with somebody as how to maybe get a good starting point to all of this, you don't have to commit yourself to Christian counseling care, but you do and you can take advantage of a 30-minute session free with me.
Oh, that's beautiful. So those will be all in the description of how you can get a hold of her as well. And again, she said that that was a 30-minute free session
Mhm.
for the first session. So that's a really good opportunity to just kind of start your journey. So anybody that wants to do that, that will be in the description. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I look forward to doing another episode with you soon. Have a great day.